Hey guys, Super Airsoft back again with another Airsoft video, and today we're going to be going over this guy. This is the RunCam Scope Cam 2 4K. We're going to be going over this specific unit, the specs, why you should get one, where to get one, all the hoo-ha that's associated with scope cams in today's video. Now, this unit was not sent out to me. I bought this with my own money, so all my opinions and stuff are all, mine. Before we get started, remember to like the video if you end up liking it, subscribe if you want more content like this, and also comment down below if you have any questions on this specific video or pretty much anything Airsoft related. So to kick things started, what is a scope cam? Essentially, it's a zoomed in perspective of what your gun's seeing down the barrel. If you guys check out my latest gameplay video, or pretty much any gameplay video that has the word scope cam in the title, you will see instances where I'm running and gun, having a good time, shooting my gun, but the second I pick up my gun and if a target's relatively far away, it'll switch into a perspective that's much more zoomed in, and you can see the target clearly in frame, the bullets kind of going in a straight line or maybe a curved line depending on what gameplay it was, and potentially seeing people not calling their hit. That's essentially what a scope cam is, a zoomed in perspective at the very end of your gun, showing what it is that's being hit or not hit, and kind of seeing where your BBs are going. Now, if you want to actually record gameplay, this is a very good extra addition to your setup, giving you that extra dimension when you're actually editing your gameplay videos and posting them on YouTube. Now, that's not the only reason people would get this. Second of all, you can use this to catch cheaters, people who are not calling their hits when they're clearly being hit. Third of all, for any sort of personal Airsoft fun growth development, whether it be changes that you need to make for your setup, such as increasing or decreasing hop up, something's going on with your gun because your BBs are curving to the left. Also, in the heat of the moment, you might think your BBs are going one direction. It could be going somewhere completely different. And you might not capture that when you have just a camera on your forehead capturing the action itself. So having a scope cam has a wide variety of benefits. If you're a sniper and you're shooting very long distances and you can't even actually see with your bare eyes if you're hitting something or not, you can have a scope cam. Especially if you have the 40mm version of this scope cam, you'll be able to zoom in really far to see that tiny little BB traveling a really far distance to go blink onto the target. There's a lot of fun applications with this in a creative perspective for me, as well as being able to kind of analyze your gameplay, where your shots are going, changes that you need to make, etc., etc. Enough talk about what a scope cam is. Let's talk about the unit itself. First off, the build quality is fantastic. This thing has a full aluminum housing, which is exactly what you need when you're playing Airsoft. A scope cam is an addition to your gun. It's an attachment, so it is vulnerable to getting dinged, banged, and shot at. I have played with this unit for maybe 6 or 7 games, and I've got a lot of little tiny white marks all over this thing because it's been shot already. Therefore, you need something with a full aluminum housing, something that's sturdy and rigid and able to take a beating. The lens cover is also protected by a 3rd generation Corning Gorilla Glass, so it's not just protecting the lens underneath, it's also providing a very clear and crisp image. One thing I did notice is that the camera is relatively bulky. It's kind of on the heavier side, plus a little bit wider than I initially thought. When I first put this on my gun, my other attachments were impeding the correct position that I actually wanted to put this on, but it's fine. I was able to find a workaround. Just keep that in mind. This is a little bit wider than you would actually initially think. So if you run a lot of accessories, you might want to make sure that the dimensions work with your setup, or just make any sort of changes with your setup in general to accommodate for it. So the Scope Cam 2 comes with 2 lens choices. You have the 25mm variant and the 40mm variant. I went with the 25mm variant because I play indoors, more CQB. I do get a couple of shots off that are a little bit further away, which is why I wanted the zoom cam in the first place, to capture that footage, but nothing far enough for me to actually use the 40mm variant. If you're playing CQB, I would recommend the 25mm variant. If you're running around with snipers and playing outdoors, I would definitely recommend the 40mm variant so you can capture that longer distance shot. All right, let's talk technical specifications. This has a Sony CMOS 8-megapixel camera sensor, which is key for getting really high quality 4K footage. The 25mm lens variant that I'm using here gives you a 12-degree field of view, and it records in an MP4 H.264 codec, so the files are very easy to manage and edit without having to convert it or handbrake it. And another big plus is that it supports a micro SD card up to 256 gigabytes, which means you can run a ton of footage if you would like in one go, or with multiple charge cycles. I also have a link to the micro SD card that I utilize with this if you just want to buy what it is that I buy. That's also in the description below. Battery is 1400 milliamp hours, which gives you about 240 minutes or so at 1080p 30 and about 120 minutes at 4K 30 or 1440p 60. This also has a USB Type-C port in the back to charge it, which is the best port. This also has a cool toolless design when it comes to actually attaching it to your Picatinny rail system. Makes it a lot easier for you to be able to put it on and take it off. Operating the device itself is as simple as toggling the bottom button upwards to record. It'll vibrate multiple times to signal that it's actually started recording. And once you're done capturing the clip, you can just click the toggle button down and it'll stop recording and capture that clip. Now, one of my favorite features is the ability for this device to actually connect to your phone through Wi-Fi. All you have to do is long press the top button and connect to the Wi-Fi signal that gets emitted out of this thing to your phone. Once you have the RunCam application downloaded, you simply click connect and you're connected. From there, you'll be able to make a multitude of changes to the way that the camera actually records footage, whether it be different resolution formats. This also has a crosshair feature, so you can choose a red, white, or green crosshair to be embedded into your footage. You can change things like the saturation, the contrast, the white balance, etc., etc. Pretty much everything is available to you through the application. This also has a digital zoom that you can just kind of click, click, click in order to zoom into a target even more. And it also allows you to flip the image if you ever so need to, such as if you're mounting the ScopeCam upside down rather than right side up. The application on the phone makes it very convenient because you can make any sort of changes on the fly. You don't have to like pull out a laptop and connect it to your computer and all sorts of stuff like that. You can just connect it to your phone, make any sort of changes, click save, and you're good to go. Also, the live preview feature and actually being able to see the image that's being output from your phone is a huge lifesaver. That way you're not spending an entire day recording footage that has been looking away from the barrel the whole time. Another feature that you might want to utilize with this is the ability to capture slow motion. You can record at 120 FPS in 1080p to capture slow motion headshots if you would like. It's kind of a gimmick and wouldn't be something that I would utilize because then you're recording all your footage in slow motion while you're running around. For me, I don't really like to use that feature, but you can. You can also pick up the flashback cable for about 20 bucks extra. This will allow you to continuously record in a loop, but only save the last few seconds. You can think of this kind of like the Xbox record feature where it continuously is monitoring your screen until you click that save button where it saves the last 30 seconds of your gameplay. That's essentially what the flashback cable will do. It shortens down on your storage. That way you're not recording random like little bits and pieces of your gameplay. You're only recording the very important bit. I like recording everything and anything whenever I play a game, so I don't utilize that, but you can always buy that flashback cable for about 20 bucks more if you want to use that with this. All right, let's talk about my experience with the thing. Starting with the cons, it is on the heavier side of things. Adding it to your gun, you will definitely feel that heft at the very end of your setup. So if your gun itself is not really balanced, it's gonna feel a little bit front heavy when you put the thing on the very top. Second of all, it's a little bit bulkier than I originally anticipated. Yes, my previous setup with a RunCam 2 with a 25mm lens screwed on there was a lot bigger than this. So this is an upgrade for me. I skimped over the dimensions, so when I initially saw the pictures of it, I thought it was going to be a little bit slimmer than it was, and max about the size of the Picatinny rail itself. It turned out to be a little bit wider than I had thought, which is fine. That's on me. That's entirely on me, which is why I'm not really making it a big con. It's just something that you should be ready to accommodate your gun setup for. The only other con that I can really think of is the fact that it does get fairly warm. Now that's to be expected when you're recording in 4K or 2.7K for extended periods of time, which is fine. It hasn't affected any of my footage. It hasn't corrupted any of the footage. It hasn't stopped recording midway or anything like that. It just does get a little bit on the warmer side if you're leaving it on for prolonged amounts of time. Your average game of about like 10 minutes, totally fine. I left it on for 3 games in a row on accident, which is when I noticed that it was getting really warm. So that's about 30 minutes plus about 10-minute break in between. So that's about like 50 minutes. Most cameras will get warm at about 50 minutes of continuous recording at 2.7K. So that's not really a knock on it. Other than that, all I have are pros. It records really well. The battery life is amazing. My previous setup with that RunCam 2 that I mentioned before needed to have an external battery to continuously charge it in order for it to not break the recording or stop recording or just ruining an entire day of potentially capturing footage. The previous setup would die after 2 games. This lasted an entire day of games, plus still had about half of the battery left over when I got home and checked the battery level. That is a tremendous upgrade and a huge time saver and also a huge weight saver, which is why I have to kind of go back to the first con that I said where it is on the heavier side and somewhat take it back, because if you account for the additional weight of the battery that I was also lugging onto, this is lighter. Unit to unit, this is heavier, just saying. Another pro is the construction. It's very rigid. I can already see there are a couple spots on there from BBs being hit on it. The Gorilla Glass is really nice. That way you don't have to replace the entire lens. You can just replace the Gorilla Glass itself. All in all, I think it's a worthwhile device. At about $189 for the 25mm variant, I think it's actually a good deal. Alternative is offering from Foxeer. Really, it's the Foxeer versus the RunCam that I would really only put head to head. I know Navraj makes a ScopeCam as well, but that strictly records stuff in that flashback mode and doesn't do the continuous recording that I would like. So really the only other competitor for this is the Foxeer's offering, which is actually fairly bit more expensive, although it does look to be a little bit more rugged and a little bit smaller in a way, but I recommend this hands down. I would not recommend cheaping out and getting the RunCam 2 and doing the 25mm lens mod and actually Picatinny mounting it to your gun. I wouldn't recommend that anymore. I recommend this because it's an all-in-one offering. You get up to 4K. The battery life is fantastic. It's super rugged. The Gorilla Glass is really nice. It's a kind of a good feeling to have that the thing is protected in the very front whenever you're getting shot at. The auto white balancing and the clarity of the device and the camera and everything. Overall, 10 out of 10. I would highly recommend. Just make sure that you're ready to make any sort of accommodations to the end of your gun or your gun setup as a whole to account for the additional weight and attachment itself. Other than that, I have no gripes with the thing. Links in the description are affiliate links, so I will get a little bit of commission when you guys click on it and make a purchase. It's a great way to help out your boy. Other than that, like the video if you end up liking it, subscribe if you want more content, and comment down below if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next one.